If all of our money is just in things we can't control, has volatility involved with it, well, obviously we're not going to be able to predict what's going to happen. So that's where we need to start having that conversation of like, why don't we rotate some of our money, especially if it's money you already have in other buckets, we can rotate some of it towards the bottom layer, towards the guarantees, and that way when the market dumps, so I'll go over here, if you had $1 million, let's say, invested, right, in the market, you go to retire and the market drops 20%, well, now you're down to 800,000. So now you're down to here, and you still have to take income. So when you're taking out income, let's say you're taking $40,000 out from here, now your 800 is dropped down to 760. So obviously going into retirement, if you wanted to, you're planning to take $1 million off or 40,000 off of $1 million, and you happen to get the short end of the stick, and the market dropped down 20%, and then you have to draw income out on top of that, well, that could completely derail your entire retirement plan. And that runs into the second fear that comes up of like, okay, I'm afraid of a market crash when I go to retire, but what happens if I run out of money during my retirement? So that's where this goes over to the next piece of the conversation, which will just focus on this guaranteed layer again. Guaranteed. So with this guaranteed layer, if you can combine your Social Security, so Social Security, you're lucky enough to get a pension, you could put that in there as well. And let me make this a little bit bigger. Pension, and then also we layer in annuities, annuity and whole life insurance. And I'll break each one down. If we can get this bucket or this layer to completely equal our minimum, I'll put min lifestyle, then there's nothing to worry about. Okay, so this bottom layer, the guaranteed layer, if we can do whatever possible to make sure that we're having enough guaranteed income coming in to cover our base or minimum living expenses, then you have that peace of mind of, okay, if the market does crash when I go to retirement, that's okay. If these top, let me redraw it again, if these top 3 layers here of the cake, you know, they're not completely gone, but they take a dump, it's like, all right, cool, I have enough money to live and to do what I need to do from the guaranteed sources, which we'll break down. Now, what that allows you to do, instead of locking in losses during a market crash or while the market's down, you can let those market-based investments recover. Okay, so that's going to be not only from a peace of mind standpoint, but from a numbers standpoint, by not touching the market or your market-based investments while they're down, increases the likelihood that you're going to have enough money to last the rest of your retirement. Again, those are the 2 biggest fears. So when it comes to this guaranteed bucket of money, that's where we have to start asking ourselves, like, okay, where else do I have money that I would be okay with getting a less return on to give me more peace of mind, to bring more stability and certainty to my life, knowing that it's guaranteed? Hypothetically speaking, let's say, and there's actually one other thing I want to cover very briefly before I get into this. There's 2 parts to retirement planning. There is what's called, if you can see this arrow, this is called your accumulation phase. Accumulation, and then you've got the other arrow going the other way, which is your decumulation. Your accumulation phase, the way that you actually are building your nest egg and you're building up your portfolio, is completely different than the decumulation or the distribution phase of how you're actually going to draw income from that. That's the one thing, that's the whole point of building up the retirement portfolios for income. Now, the strategy though to accumulate is not going to be the same.